I didn't buy the BMW my coworkers think I got as a bonus. I didn't even order it. But the night my boss asked me about it in front of our CEO, I ended up in the ER. By the time that dinner happened, I'd been with the company 5 years. I was 32, project manager in a mid-sized tech firm, salary decent enough to pay the mortgage and keep my student loans from screaming. My parents thought I worked with computers. My friends thought I was richer than I was because I wore shirts with a collar. The only person who actually knew the math was my wife, Emma. She'd seen the spreadsheets, the late-night emails, the two savings accounts labeled house repairs, and unexpected medical crap. She also knew I drove a 12-year-old Honda that rattled any time I turned the wheel. Left. So when a brand new white BMW X5 appeared in the executive row with my name on the little temporary sign in front of it, the jokes weren't funny to me at all. It started 2 weeks before the dinner. Monday morning, coffee in one hand, laptop bag in the other, I almost walked past it. Plate frame still had the dealership logo, windows dark like paint. A laminated card on the curb read, Grant Lewis, PM. Nice ride, man. Nate from sales materialized at my elbow. Guess the big man really liked that Q4 rollout, huh? It's not mine, I said. He laughed. Sure. Just don't forget the little people when you move upstairs. By 9:30 a.m., someone had posted a picture of the car in the team chat. When your JIRA tickets are that clean. I muted the thread and went straight to my boss's office. Ellen was the manager who'd pulled me out of entry-level hell. Late 40s, sharp bob, voice that could cut through a conference room. You see the BMW with my name on it? I asked. She glanced up, smiled. Congratulations. I didn't get a car, Ellen. Relax, she said. Martin wanted to reward you for the overtime on Aurora. He said something about recognizing quiet excellence. HR must have pushed it through faster than I expected. My stomach did a small, stupid flip. I had been killing myself on Aurora. Nights, weekends, smoothing out bugs while sales promised features we hadn't finished. A part of me wanted to believe it. Another part started doing math on insurance, taxes, the fact that nothing in this company moved fast unless someone shoved it. I never signed anything, I said. No lease, no paperwork. It's a company vehicle. She waved a hand. Details later. For now, enjoy the optics. It's good for you to look valued. That was the moment I should have insisted on seeing something in writing. Instead, I let my ego take the wheel for a couple of days. I parked my Honda in the overflow lot and drove the BMW home once, just to see Emma's face. She walked around it in the driveway, fingers grazing the mirror. Please tell me you didn't do something illegal. Apparently I'm quiet excellence, I said. Martin's words. And does quiet excellence come with a contract? She asked. Allegedly. Ellen says paperwork is coming. Emma looked at the car again, then at me. Grant, we don't win things. We apply for them and wait 6 to 8 weeks for rejection emails. Make sure you're not accidentally signing up to be someone's fall guy. It sounded paranoid then. Later, it would sound prophetic. The paperwork never came. What did come were more comments. Grant's moving up in the world. Guess we know who the favorite is. Martin started including me in meetings I had no business being in, like he wanted to see if the guy with the BMW could talk. By the time the quarterly company dinner rolled around, the car had become part of my shadow. It was the first thing people mentioned when they introduced me to their spouses. I'd sent 2 emails to HR about the company vehicle allocation and gotten the same reply both times. We're looking into it. So there I was, in a private dining room at a downtown steakhouse, sitting 2 seats down from Martin and directly across from Ellen. With a car in my name, no paperwork, and a knot in my chest I couldn't blame on the free bread. White tablecloths, too many forks, a wall of windows over the city. Martin told a story about his first job selling copiers, while the younger managers laughed. I nursed my beer, checked my watch, thought about Emma at home on the couch. I'd texted her a picture of the place. She'd replied, Ask them to bonus your student loans next. Ellen kept catching my eye, proud mentor looks, like I was her project on display. When the main plates were cleared and the servers started pouring wine, Martin tapped his glass. Before we wrap up, he said, I want to highlight a few people who went above and beyond this quarter. This was normal. Compliments, applause, maybe a framed certificate. My name in the mix wouldn't have shocked me. The way he did it, did. First, Martin said, Grant Lewis. A few heads turned. My ears went warm. Grant has been the backbone of the Aurora rollout, he said. He kept timelines on track, managed expectations, made sure we didn't promise what we couldn't deliver. I figured he deserved a little something extra. He smiled, that rehearsed CEO smile. So I approved what Ellen calls his bonus BMW. Polite laughter. My fork suddenly felt very heavy. Then Ellen leaned forward, eyes bright, and said the sentence that cracked it open. So, Grant, she asked, loud enough for the whole room, how are you liking the car so far? All signed and sorted with finance? Every conversation died at once. Martin turned his head to look at me, waiting for my answer. In that pocket of silence, my brain did three things at once. Replayed Emma's warning, replayed my unanswered HR emails, and tried to remember if I'd ever, at any point, put my signature on anything that could explain why a $70,000 vehicle was being publicly attached to my name. My chest tightened. The knot I'd been ignoring all week cinched hard, like someone had grabbed a fistful of my ribs. And for the first time in my career, I realized I might actually be in real physical trouble because of something that looked like a gift. When I woke up, the ceiling tiles weren't the ones from the restaurant. They were hospital tiles, the kind that looked like someone punched tiny holes into oatmeal. My throat felt raw, my chest ached, and a monitor beeped somewhere behind me, too calm for how terrified I suddenly was. A nurse noticed my eyes open. Good morning. You had a stress-induced syncopal episode. Your heart's fine, but you need to slow down. Slow down, I almost laughed. I hadn't been fast to begin with. Emma sat in the corner, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to keep something from falling apart. When she saw I was awake, she came over quietly. You scared the hell out of me, she whispered. I didn't know what scared me more, passing out at a company dinner or waking up knowing my boss had asked a question in front of the CEO that implied I'd signed documents for a car I never approved. But that was just the beginning. By noon, HR had already called my hospital room. It was the rep who always sounded like she was reading from a laminated card. We heard about the incident. Ellen told us you were under a lot of pressure and may have forgotten some paperwork regarding your vehicle assignment. When you're discharged, just stop by, and we'll get everything aligned. Forgotten. Aligned. Emma stared at the speakerphone like it had insulted her personally. When the call ended, she said, Grant, they're building a story while you're lying here. I knew she was right. A narrative was being shaped, one where I was overwhelmed, grateful, careless, a perfect shield for someone else's decisions. I checked my email from my phone. There was nothing from Ellen, nothing from finance, just a company-wide note wishing me a speedy recovery. But one new name was in my inbox. Subject, about the BMW. It was from Liam, a junior finance analyst I barely knew, outside of 2 conversations, and one time I'd helped him fix a pivot table when everyone else ignored him. I remembered him because he'd looked genuinely thankful, not performative. Can we talk privately? The email read. There's something you need to see. I didn't answer immediately. I waited until the doctor confirmed I could be discharged that afternoon. Then, in the car with Emma driving, I called him. He sounded nervous. Did HR talk to you already? Yeah. Then you really need to see this. We met in the parking lot of a strip mall. Neutral ground, no company cameras. Nothing that could be twisted later. Liam was holding a manila folder thick enough to make my stomach tighten again. I shouldn't even be printing this, he said, looking around. But you helped me once, so I'm helping you now. He handed me the folder. Inside were copies of the lease documents, the ones I supposedly signed. Except the signature wasn't mine. Not exactly. It was my signature from onboarding 4 years ago, copied so cleanly it took me a full minute of staring to notice the microscopic pixelation around the edges. The kind that shows up when someone lifts an image and drags it onto a form. "Where did you get this?" I asked. "From the internal lease archive. Ellen requested the vehicle to a project cost center and then changed it a day later to your employee ID. Finance VP approved it. His initials are on page 1. My pulse started climbing again. "Why would they do that?" Liam exhaled. "Because executive perks get scrutinized by the board now. They needed a high performer to route it through. Someone unlikely to question it. Someone compliant. A perfect fall guy." I felt my jaw clench. "If an audit hits, it's my name on the lease?" "Exactly." It clicked then. The rushed compliments, the sudden attention, the CEO mentioning the BMW before I ever had a chance to verify anything. They weren't rewarding me. They were using me. "I didn't know it yet," Liam said quietly, "but that decision would cost them everything." His words hit me harder than they should have. They weren't a threat. They were a warning. I drove home in silence. Emma didn't push. She didn't need to. When we got inside, she finally asked, "What are you going to do?" I opened the manila folder, stared at the forged signature, the timestamps, the approval chain. My entire career had taught me to swallow things, to keep the peace, to be the quiet excellence people could lean on. But lying in a hospital bed had done something to me. Something had shifted. "I'm going to stop letting them decide the story," I said, "and I'm going to build a record they can't rewrite." That night, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, a glass of water, and the folder. I forwarded every HR message to my personal email. I downloaded every meeting invite that mentioned the BMW. I saved every unanswered question I'd asked, and then I began writing. A timeline. Exact times, dates, conversations. No emotion, just facts. For the first time in years, I wasn't playing defense. I wasn't being agreeable. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. I realized I'd been saving people who never wanted saving. When I closed the laptop, Emma put her hand on mine. "Whatever happens next," she said, "you're not doing this alone?" I believed her. Because the next step wasn't anger, it was precision. And the people who'd assumed I'd stay quiet had no idea what I was about to do. The morning after, I walked into the office with the same worn backpack, the same old Honda key in my hand, and a different spine. I didn't touch the BMW. I didn't even look at it. I wanted a clean line between me and that thing. My first move was small, but deliberate. I sent an email to HR with a subject line that couldn't be softened, twisted, or aligned. Formal notice of dispute regarding vehicle lease assigned to my name. 2 bullet points: I had not signed any lease. I refused possession until documentation was verified. 10 minutes later, no reply, but a red receipt. HR had seen it. Good. Then I forwarded the same message to Ellen and CC'd the corporate legal inbox. Not people, just a monitored address. Companies ignore voices. They don't ignore paper trails. And then silence, the kind that means something's gone wrong. I spent the morning pretending to work, updating timelines while watching people walk past my desk with the same curious glances they'd been giving me for a week. But this time, I wasn't shrinking under them. I was waiting. At 11:40 a.m., Ellen appeared beside my cubicle. "Grant, my office, now." Her voice wasn't sharp. It was tight, like she'd been holding her breath since she saw my email. Inside her office, blinds half drawn, she shut the door a little too quietly. "What is this?" she asked, waving a printed copy of my notice. "A dispute," I said. "I didn't sign anything." She dropped the page on the table. "You're making a mistake. You're escalating something that doesn't need escalation." "I asked for documentation for 2 weeks," I said. "No one provided it." "You could have come to me." "I did, twice." A flash of irritation crossed her face, fleeting but real. "Look, the optics are terrible," she said. The CEO already announced the bonus. If you make this an audit issue, it becomes messy for everyone involved. I let her talk. Every word was leverage. You're a smart guy, Grant, she continued. Don't create problems, solve them. What problem am I creating? I asked. By telling the truth? Her jaw tightened. She wasn't used to pushback from me. For years I had been the employee who absorbed chaos and produced order. Now she was seeing the version of me that chaos had created. You're overreacting, she said. HR and finance will clean this up internally if you stop putting things in writing. There it was, the line that confirmed everything. Why? I asked. Would they need to clean something up if no one did anything wrong? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was the loudest moment of the day. That night, after Emma went to bed, I finished the step I'd been preparing since the ER. I submitted a report through the company's ethics hotline, an anonymous but not really system that goes directly to internal audit. I attached the forged lease, the finance approval chain, my unanswered HR emails, my new dispute notice, and a summary of what happened at the dinner. No adjectives, no emotion, just facts. Then, because I understood how corporate investigations work, I sent the same package to my personal email and saved it to a flash drive. I'd learned the hard way, evidence that exists in only one place doesn't exist at all. 2 days passed with no response. On day 3, something shifted. Internal audit reached out, not through email, but through a calendar invite. Discussion, compliance, review. Mandatory. No option to decline. The meeting was held in a small conference room with frosted glass walls. 2 auditors were waiting, a middle-aged woman named Patel, and a younger man with a laptop open and ready. Grant, Patel said calmly, we received a report that mentions you. We'd like your perspective. I didn't embellish, I didn't rant. I kept my voice steady and slow and gave them the entire timeline exactly as it happened. When I finished, Patel asked, do you have reason to believe someone used your identity to authorize the lease? Yes. Do you know who? I know who processed it, I said. I don't know who ordered it. Her expression gave nothing away, but the younger auditor typed faster. And why? She asked. Do you believe you were selected? Because I don't cause trouble, I said. At least, I didn't. The air shifted, subtly, but enough to know they'd heard something they needed. At the end, Patel closed her notebook. We will need access to your emails and the BMW itself. The car is in the executive lot, I said. I haven't touched it in days. She nodded. Good. The meeting ended without promises, threats, or reassurances. That's how you know something real is happening. Nobody tries to soothe you. The next 48 hours were the longest of my professional life. People whispered more. Ellen acted like I was a ghost. Not angry, just erased. Finance avoided eye contact. Something was brewing, and I wasn't supposed to know what. But then on a Thursday afternoon, just after 3 p.m., as I was updating a Gantt chart I suddenly couldn't focus on, the entire floor got a notification. Executive all-hands meeting, immediate. No explanation, no agenda, just a room number. Colleagues drifted toward the glass conference room like sheep sensing wolves. I went too. Through the glass wall I saw them. The CEO, internal audit, corporate legal, HR's director, and 2 empty chairs. One for Ellen, one for the finance VP. My chest didn't tighten this time. It loosened. 5 minutes later, both of them arrived. Pale, rigid, trying to look composed. The CEO didn't waste time. An internal audit has identified serious irregularities in our vehicle allocation program, he said. 2 leaders have been placed on immediate suspension pending further investigation. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. I watched Ellen's eyes flicker. Shock, anger, disbelief blending into something colder. The finance VP looked like a man who had just seen the edge of a cliff he didn't know he was walking toward. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A single-line email from internal audit. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter. I sat there still, silent, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something unclench inside me. They thought I was gone. I wasn't. They didn't fire Ellen and the finance VP that day. Companies like mine never move that cleanly. They suspend, investigate, negotiate, sanitize. Corporate choreography designed to keep the floor steady while the structure shifts underneath. But what mattered was simple. I was no longer the shield. The morning after the all hands, HR sent me a short email. Please stop by before noon. No details, no tone, just an invitation shaped like a warning. Emma squeezed my hand before I left the house. Remember, you didn't cause this. You uncovered it. I nodded, but a piece of me still braced for impact. HR's director, not the rep, met me in a small conference room. Legal was there too. A woman named Harper who spoke with the clarity of someone who'd seen 12 versions of the same disaster. Grant, HR said, folding her hands, we appreciate your cooperation with internal audit. That word, appreciate, felt like a rug being rolled out and a trap door being built underneath it. Harper slid a document across the table. This is an acknowledgement from the company that the vehicle allocation assigned to your name was unauthorized. Your signature was forged. You are clear of any financial or legal responsibility. I read it twice. Every line, every clause. It was clean. Too clean. What happens now? I asked. HR hesitated just long enough to confirm my suspicion. With the disruption this has caused, and given your recent medical incident, we'd like to offer you a transition package. Neutral reference, severance, continued health insurance. You've been a strong performer, but we understand if you'd prefer a fresh start. There it was. Not punishment, not reward. Something in between. A corporate peace offering wrapped in polite exile. I didn't speak right away. For 5 years, I'd molded myself to this place, reshaped my edges, killed my impulses to say no, to push back, to take up space. And they had almost broken my heart with a gift I never asked for. But I wasn't the same person who lifted my old Honda keys with embarrassment 2 weeks ago. I'd like my attorney to review this, I said. A flicker of surprise. They weren't expecting that. Of course, Harper said. Take your time. Outside, I called Emma first, then the lawyer, a neighbor's recommendation, someone practical, low nonsense, the kind of attorney who reads settlement, offers like surgeons read x-rays. She spent the afternoon dissecting the document line by line. Her verdict? Good, but not good enough. She proposed changes, small on paper, enormous in consequence. Explicit statement that I was a cooperating witness in an internal fraud investigation. Confirmation that my departure was voluntary. A non-disparagement clause that applied to them, not just me. And a bump in severance tied to the months I'd spent on Aurora. Companies don't protect you unless you force them to, she said. You have leverage. Use it. For the first time in my career, I did. HR didn't argue. They didn't stall. They accepted every change. 2 days later, I signed. Not in fear, in clarity. When I turned in my badge, the office felt smaller than I remembered. The cubicled maze where I had folded myself into something manageable, predictable, forgettable. I walked past the glass conference room where the all-hands had happened, past the executive hallway where the BMW still sat, untouched, waiting for its next carefully chosen name. Ellen's office was empty, her nameplate already gone. The finance VP's door was locked. People whispered less now. Chaos had quieted into consequence. As I stepped into the parking lot, a winter breeze cut across the asphalt. The BMW gleamed under the afternoon sun, pristine and pointless, a symbol of everything I'd almost let define me. I didn't even look twice. I walked to my Honda, dented door, rattling wheel, the same car that had carried me through college, job interviews, midnight grocery runs, and the ER. I'd never been so grateful for something imperfect. 3 months later, I had a new job. Smaller company, saner hours, A boss who actually read documentation instead of weaponizing it. My chest didn't tighten before meetings anymore. I slept deeper. I laughed more. Emma said I looked like myself again, the version she met before I learned how to fold myself down to fit into someone else's idea of a loyal employee. One evening, driving home, I pulled up next to a BMW at a red light. Same model, same color. For a moment, I waited for the old tension, that knot in my ribs, that pressure behind the eyes. It didn't come. The light turned green. The BMW sped ahead. I didn't chase it. Because the truth was simple. That car had never belonged to me, and neither did the life it tried to drag me into. I'd walked away, on my terms, with my spine intact, and for the first time in years, that was enough.